So it's been about 6 weeks since we last checked in.
Yeah.
What have you gotten done since then?
I've really just started planing the blue stained pine that's going to be our ceiling paneling, and that's about all. It's hard to get a lot of work done on the house in the wintertime. As you can see, we get plenty of snowfall. We've gotten about 4 to 6 inches just this morning. So it just takes a lot of work to stay on top of moving snow. We have about 1/3 of a mile of road that we have to plow ourselves in order to have access to the outside world. And we still need things from the outside world, although if we had to stay here, we certainly could for a number of weeks. We'd be okay. But it's kind of a full-time job, just keeping snow out of our way. So that takes up a lot of our time.
So did you plan for that?
Yeah, I knew that winter would not be a great time to work on the house. I know that a lot of construction sites are able to kind of just keep rolling through it, but I'm a one-man show for the most part, and I'm not able to do that. I just knew that I needed to use winter as mostly a planning phase.
So let's go inside.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
So can you show me this pine?
Yes. Ooh, this is a good piece. This whole stack of boards, and there's more than this, a little bit more than this. This is 63 boards or something like that, that will end up being about 8 inches wide, 8 feet long, right around 3/4 of an inch thick. It's not quite enough to do the ceiling, the cathedral ceiling of our cabin. So what I'm going to do, I wanted to say, this all came from one tree. It was a pretty awesome tree. It went up about 16 feet, and then it split into two, and went up, another 50, 60 feet like that. So I was able to get 9 to 10 foot long sections of both sides of that split. Probably 4 or 5 of those each. So a lot of big chunks of wood, and it laid on the ground during the winter and froze, which I'm told is what makes it stain blue. There's a bug that introduces a bacteria, and then, or something like that, and then it has to freeze. It has to be down and freeze, and then it'll stain like that. And that used to be considered a defect, but now it's kind of, people have embraced it. I like the way that it looks. It's really kind of random and adds a lot of color to it. So we don't quite have enough of this very material from that one tree to do the whole ceiling, but I have a bunch of reclaimed 1x10 boards that I was given. And so what I'm going to do, they're also pine, just probably from Home Depot at some point in its life. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plane this down to be about the same thickness as that, and then I'm going to run everything through, both the reclaimed and our own harvested lumber. I'm going to run everything through the planer a couple of times so that it all is exactly the same thickness and everything has a nice clean face on it. And then I'll have plenty to do the whole ceiling. But when I pass all of this stuff through the planer, it'll end up being about 12 passes through at least. each time taking a 30-second or less off of the surface of the board. And that translates into a lot of shavings and sawdust. So I use the vacuum to try and collect as much of that as possible. I need a more efficient way of doing it because it's a small vacuum. It gets clogged really easily. And if I had a trash can, I could make a contraption that would collect it a little more efficiently for me. Maybe that's our next video. But we collect it because we want clean sawdust for some chicken bedding, and it's not dust, it's shavings, it's large pieces. The dust isn't so good for animals, but the large shavings are great for absorbing what animals do. We also use it in a similar way in the outhouse to add carbon content to the composting outhouse. In that slab we're laying PEX tubing and doing radiant floor heat.
Can you tell me about the materials that you collected that are hanging out in here?
Yeah, so we've built ourselves a big storage shed for the time being. Mostly what I'm storing in here is lumber, things that I don't want to be exposed to the elements. So all of the pine that I'm planing, the bicycles, these are all of our windows that are going to go into the house. That one has snow on it because I just got it and had to transport it home in the snow. Under the tarp is a big pile of pink fiberglass insulation, which normally I wouldn't really incorporate into this project because I hate working with it, and I'm just trying to make this a project that I really enjoy. So I'm just trying to eliminate gross products out of the equation, and that's certainly one of them. But that huge pile of insulation was free off of some demolition that I was involved in. So it's hard to say no to free. So that'll do a couple of walls, maybe most of the walls. It's hard to tell what kind of condition it's all in. But it's exactly the right size that we need. It's 6 1/4 thick, and it's 2 feet wide, and that's our framing bays is 2 by 6. So it's hard to, like I said, hard to say no to free. I bought a stack of fire brick. It wasn't free or necessarily cheap, but I went ahead and just pulled the trigger and got some. I had been looking for some for free or cheap, and it just wasn't coming up. So I just pulled the trigger and got some. It's for the combustion unit on our rocket mass heater. I just need to start stacking brick and figuring out the shape of the burn tunnel and chimney and everything. And that's something that'll be done outdoors on a day when it's not dumping snow on us. And just dry stacking brick and trying to make a fire get really hot in there and make sure that it's going to draw well and do its rockety magic before we start even designing or planning the other parts of it.
A lot of people have been asking about the floor. Can you explain the floor?
Yes, the floor. Right now we have a dirt floor in here. When it's warm enough and I have things, and when I have an outdoor space for all of these things that I'm storing in here, we're going to do a concrete floor. So we're going to pour a slab inside of here. So the concrete stem wall comes up another 6 or 8 inches above this dirt floor right now. And so we have to pack some gravel and actually lay foam, and then we're pouring a 4-inch slab on top of the foam. So the foam is there to insulate us from the ground so that doesn't become a heat sink. I'm Nick Fouch from Fouch-O-Matic Off Grid. Thanks for watching.
running clouds in a mountains, hills in a halls, oh, dancing between the lines of a moon, oh, yes, oh.